12 bone-chilling Craigslist horror stories that haunted me at midnight. The clock struck midnight as Sarah's fingers trembled over her laptop's keyboard. The glow of the screen cast eerie shadows on her face, reflecting her gut-wrenching curiosity. She had stumbled upon the dark underbelly of Craigslist, a realm where innocent ads hid horrors that could freeze your blood. Just when she thought she knew what the internet could conjure, those ominous tales pulled her in deeper, electrifying every fiber of her being. As she scrolled, one chilling story gripped her, a young couple who posted about their need for scenic furniture for their new home. Days later, police found their apartment lined with vintage pieces and traces of blood. She could almost hear the whispers of their final screams echoing in her mind. Her heart raced as she recalled the couple's last message: "We invite you to come visit and share our dreams." Then another caught her eye, an ad for free kittens, laced with an innocent, "first come, first served." But the twist? When the new owner got home, the kittens transformed into grotesque little fiends that clawed at the walls, meowing with a sound that resembled cries for help. Sarah felt a knot in her stomach, her skin crawling as she imagined those innocent eyes staring back, harboring dark secrets. Just then, a sudden noise outside cut through the room. The loud clang of metal roused her from her horror-struck reverie. Was it a neighbor? Her heart thudded in her chest, creating a rhythm as frantic as her thoughts. She glanced towards the window, half expecting to see anything darting through the shadows. A shiver raced down her spine. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. With a breath to steady herself, Sarah pushed further, diving into the depths of Craigslist's sinister offerings. Her fingers danced over the keys, feeding an insatiable thirst for the bizarre. There was an ad for a missing pet, but the picture showed a human child, eyes blank, standing in the woods with the words, "Find me," scrawled across it. Dark questions flooded her mind. Who posted it? What had happened? And just like that, the stories tangled into each other, weaving a web of suspense and dread that threatened to ensnare her whole. The room felt heavy, each shadow crawling closer, whispering secrets of the night. What if one of those stories wasn't just fiction? What if they were warnings? With fingers frozen above the keyboard, Sarah could almost hear the rasping breaths of ghosts lurking in the posts, begging to be acknowledged. Was she ready to uncover the truth even if it meant awakening the horrors that lay dormant? As a chilling breeze swept through her open window, she couldn't help but wonder, what other horrors awaited her on the other side of the screen? Sarah's pulse quickened as the metal clang echoed once more outside, a haunting reminder that she wasn't entirely alone in this moment. She stood, torn between the pull of the bizarre stories and the creeping apprehension that knocked at her senses. It was like a siren call, luring her deeper into a maze of unknown encounters. Inching closer to the window, she parted the blinds with shaking fingers. The street was cloaked in shadows, illuminated intermittently by the sallow glow of a flickering street lamp. She scanned the area, heart thumping loudly in her ears. Just when she thought nothing unusual was afoot, she spotted movement darting across the alley, a shadowy figure. Her breath hitched as she leaned closer, trying to make sense of the sight. Suddenly, her phone buzzed violently on the table, breaking her concentration. She yanked it up, her heart racing. The notification read, "Craigslist alert, new post in your area." The implication sent a shiver down her spine. What could this new post involve? More blood, more horror. She opened the app, her palms slick with sweat. Another ad caught her eye, "Free house cleaning, we provide the supplies." The accompanying picture showed a smiling woman, scrubbing an unrecognizable floor, but the expression in her eyes, it was too vacant. Sarah felt a strange discomfort settling in her gut. Something told her to delve deeper. She needed to know what lurked behind the ad. With a hesitant click, she found herself on the posting page. The description started friendly enough: help clear out the clutter for your peace of mind. Professional services available immediately. But as she continued to read, the tone darkened. It included a chilling line that made her blood run cold: satisfaction guaranteed or we take your memories. Goosebumps erupted on her arms. Memories? What kind of house cleaning could involve her memories? It felt like it brushed against the very fabric of her own safety. Sarah felt a tug at her thoughts. It was relentless. Why would someone advertise this? She scrolled relentlessly, each line drawing her in deeper. The comment section was ablaze with frantic responses, tales of people who had accepted the offer and never returned, memories lost to the void. Questions flooded her mind. Were they just crazy? Or was there a darker truth waiting to be uncovered? Suddenly, the noise outside returned, louder this time. It wasn't just metal anymore. There were voices, whispers carried on the chill of the night air. She backed away from the window, her heart racing as she turned off the screen's glow. The stories couldn't reach her if she didn't let them. But the whispers grew louder, filling her room, curling around her like a blanket woven from dread. She needed to escape the clutches of the screen. But as she turned to flee to her bedroom, a reflection in the window caught her eye. A figure gaunt and shrouded in shadows stood just outside, staring back, a calamitous gaze locked onto her. Before she could comprehend the horror of what she saw, her phone buzzed again, illuminating the room. The message was simple: chilling, we're right here. Her breath quickened. Who were they? What did they want? The walls seemed to close in around her, a fortress of impending doom. She felt trapped in a nightmare she couldn't wake up from. What else had she unlocked in this maze of Craigslist horrors? With darkness creeping ever closer, Sarah's heart raced. She was about to find out. Sarah's world blurred at the edges as panic clawed at her throat. She darted to the door, mitts of fear tightening around her heart with every step. The floor creaked beneath her feet, echoing her dread. Who were they? What did they mean? We're right here. In the dark corners of her mind, reminders of the stories she had read flooded back, dark tales whispering of fateful decisions, of life-altering choices born from curiosity. She pressed her back against the cool wooden door, glancing down the hallway of her cramped apartment. Each closet, each corner loomed ominous in the dim light. The whispers hissed again, a soft chorus that froze her blood. Sarah, they rang like a taunting incantation, a beckoning finger of the unknown. With trembling hands, she peered through the peephole just as a shadow shifted in front, blocking the flickering street lamp's light. The figure was closer now, an outline of a person standing too still. Heart racing, she thought of her phone, the lifeline of knowledge turning into a harbinger of terror. The last message had sent shivers down her spine, but instead of fear, she felt an inexplicable pull to engage. Do you want help? She whispered into the darkness, her voice barely above the sound of her thundering heart. As if in response, the figure tilted its head, the shadows twisting hauntingly around its unnaturally elongated limbs. Reason told her to pull back, hide, call for help, but curiosity gripped her mind like a vice. Was it just a trick of the light? Or something more sinister? Her phone buzzed again, a jolt that broke the fragile link to her sanity. We can help you find peace, echoed from the screen, a chilling juxtaposition to the figure lounging in the darkness. The messages had come from a user with a name too harsh for her eyes, Evercleans. Fear wrapped itself tightly around her like a second skin. Yet somewhere deep down, a sliver of desperation flickered. Memory's precious fleeting moments snatched away versus the chance to start anew. What was she willing to risk? She took another cautious step towards the door, clutching her phone like it was a weapon. What do you want? She croaked. A sinister smile crept onto the figure's face, illuminating the darkness with something that was neither kind nor reassuring. We come for your clutter, Sarah. Only you truly know how much you've kept. Open your door, and let us help. Panic surged again, flooding her with adrenaline. The door felt like a prison, imprisoning her choice, but the whispering voices danced tantalizingly in the air. What memories had she stuffed away in the recesses of her mind? What burdens would she allow to be lifted? The excitement and terror tangled like vines around her heart, rendering her paralyzed. Suddenly, she caught a glimpse of movement behind the figure, more shadows shifting, closing in around her apartment. They were coming for her. The coat of darkness thickened, and a suffocating silence threw itself over the space, her heart hammering in protest. Sarah, they sang, a chilling harmony as if her name was a spell capturing every ounce of her hope. With one desperate breath, she dared herself to make a choice. "Okay. I'll let you in," she shouted, her voice trembling. The amiable tone turned ominous as she slowly unlatched the door. What awaited her on the other side? Her heart raced at the thought of the unknown. As the door creaked open, a gust of cold air rushed in, carrying with it echoes of memories long buried, each more unsettling than the last. What would change if she let them in? The moment froze, a breath held in the void, before the night unleashed its grisly secrets. As her vision drowned in darkness, she thought only of the shadows whispering of past lives, things she hadn't remembered, or chosen to forget. What would she lose, and at what price? The door swung open, and in an instant, the shadows rushed in like a tide, overwhelming her senses. They were no longer just specters lurking at the edges of her sight, they were a presence thick, alive, and radiating an energy that made her skin crawl. The figure stood at the forefront, its smile widening into something grotesque, revealing a row of needle-sharp teeth that glinted in the faint light. "Welcome, Sarah," it crooned, each word laced with a chilling promise. The air thickened, a tangible weight settling on her chest as the shadows encircled her, inching closer as the door creaked shut behind her. "What do you want from me?" she breathed, her voice trembling, caught somewhere between terror and an odd thrill. Her mind raced, thoughts spiraling as she looked at them, trying to discern their form. Were they human? Animals? Nothing she had ever encountered before. "We want to cleanse you," the figure said, tilting its head in a way that felt disturbingly inhuman. "To free you from the burden you carry." It stretched out a hand, long fingers beckoning her forebodingly. "All we need is your trust." The hall around her felt like it was shrinking, the suffocating darkness closing in. Her heartbeat pulsed loudly in her ears, drowning any rational thought. "Trust you?" she scoffed, the defiance barely masking her fear. "You think I'll just let you take whatever I have left?" The shadows flickered, and for a split moment, she could see the faces distorted, twisted reflections of her own fears and regrets, energies pulsing like breathing entities. They seemed familiar, invoking memories she'd long shunned. Faces of friends lost, laughter drowned by sorrow, moments of bliss her mind had buried away. "This clutter is a chain, Sarah," the figure pressed, voice thick with intent. "You cling to it, not realizing how it suffocates you. Let us help in exchange for peace." As its words lingered, a pang of something deep within pierced through her fog of terror. Memories once rich and vivid surfaced, now tinged with bitterness. What had she sacrificed chasing after the impossible? Maybe that's why she felt so empty. The air buzzed with potential, both frightening and intoxicating. What if I could be rid of this pain? The thought slithered into her mind, uninvited, and she found herself trembling at the possibilities. "What do you mean by cleanse?" A ripple of excitement coursed through the shadows, and the figure leaned in closer, the scent of something ancient and foul wafting towards her. "We can take these memories, these burdens, make them ours," it whispered. "Your pain can fade into oblivion, and I can be free." She whispered. "Free to start anew," it affirmed, joy threading its voice. "You need only surrender." Something inside Sarah screamed for her to run. The sanity of her choices slipped into the void, but another part of her, a terrified, aching part, kept asking, what if? The weight of her memories plagued her. How much longer could she carry the scars? And there, in that stolen moment of hesitation, she felt the walls of her apartment, her safe haven, begin to shift and warp, revealing glimmers of what once was. The memories beckoned, and with each pulse of the darkness, she felt drawn in deeper. "Please," she finally uttered, her throat painfully dry. What if I wanted to forget?" "Then step closer." The figure smiled, and Sarah had a sudden, sickening realization: there was no going back. As her heart thundered, the shadows captivated her, pulsating with the dark energy that promised reprieve. But at what cost? The air thickened with anticipation as she took a tremulous step forward, the emptiness of her past begging for release, but in that moment, as she crossed the threshold into darkness, she could almost hear her own voice whispering above the chaos, "What will you give up to be free, if freedom is even real?" And with each breath drawn from the night, Sarah knew one thing: she was about to discover secrets too horrifying to imagine. What would she awaken when she finally let go? The shadows recoiled, churning like dark fire at her step closer. The air shimmered, thick with tension. A strange energy washed over Sarah, both dizzying and seductive. The figure loomed closer, eyes gleaming with anticipation, and for a moment, she felt an overwhelming pull of gravity that wrapped itself around her very core. "What if I don't want to forget?" Sarah's voice trembled, uncertainty creeping in as the pulse of the darkness continued to thrash around her. "What if I want to hold on?" "Ah, but Sarah," the figure's voice dripped with a sinister sweetness, "holding on is the very thing that shackles you." It gestured around, and the shadows thickened, swirling viciously. More faces emerged, spectral and warped. They reached toward her, hovering at the edges of her vision, mouthing silent cries of pain. Memories of those lost lingered like echoes, whispering secrets she dared not recall. "I can't," she gasped. "I can't face them all." "Exactly," it hissed, its teeth gleaming in the twilight. "Let us take them. Let us carry this weight for you." Before she could respond, a jolt surged through her, a sensation as though the very essence of her being was being unraveled. It filled her with dread, a truth too profound. If those memories were taken, what would remain? Would she become an empty shell, void of her past? Behind the looming creature, shadows twisted and coiled. They beckoned as they jerked and writhed, churning like stormy seas. For every moment Sarah hesitated, a part of her soul felt consumed, ground down by the inevitability of the choice laid before her. Every moment you linger here, you grow weaker. Every breath tainted by regret and sorrow, the figure persuaded, its voice taking on a darker tone. Don't you want to reclaim your joy? Your laughter? They're hidden beneath the weight of your past forgotten. What if it's worse? What if I lose who I am? Panic blossomed in her chest like an open wound. Who you are is already buried under the debris of your life, the figure replied, its smile widening, mocking her fear. Let us remove the burdens. You've already shown us your pain through the cracks of hesitation. We will make you anew. Just then, a piercing wail cut through the suffocating darkness, echoing off the walls of her once safe space. It was a shrill, haunting sound like the cry of 1,000 lost souls. Sarah's heart raced as she stumbled back, her instincts screaming for her to escape. She spun around, eyes darting from shadow to shadow, searching for an exit in those oppressive swirling forms that seemed intent on enclosing her further. Panic clawed at her throat. Stay back! She cried. But as she shouted, the shadows twitched and pulsated, vibrating with her distress, absorbing it like a sponge. They thrived on her fear, coaxing at her deepest worries and insecurities. Would she really trade this chaos for a chance to create something new? Could she bear the emptiness that lay on the other side? Without warning, the ominous figure stepped forward, extending its long fingers toward her. The shadows followed suit, creeping closer, the temperature dropping as a chill rushed through the air. The fog of uncertainty began to lift slightly, wisping away as clarity seeped in. She realized the power was still hers. What if I refuse? She whispered, fiercely determined, feeling a surge of defiance. The figure froze, an expression of incredulity mingling with renewed anger. Refusing means enduring, it spat, poison lacing every word. And just like that, the dark energy shifted, simmering with menace, shadows bristling like a coiled snake ready to strike. Her heart thundered in her chest as she backed away, searching for a way out of this nightmare. The choice weighed on her: keep the pain or plunge into the unknown. But before she could truly grasp what the wrong choice could lead to, the shadows suddenly lunged, firm and relentless. All at once, they converged upon her, smothering her senses, drowning out thoughts. "Welcome back," the figure gnarled. "To your true self." As darkness swallowed her, the scream locked in her throat faded into silence. What would she lose in the shadows, and what might she find? Sarah felt as if she were being pulled into a deep well, the shadows wrapping around her like wet silk, suffocating yet temptingly gentle. Her heart pounded furiously, the sound echoing in her ears, the only thing she could hear as the world around her faded into a blur. Suddenly, the shadows sliced through the void, morphing into piercing forms that danced in the periphery of her vision. Faces flashed, one after another, each contorted with sorrow, anger, and desperation. She recognized some of them, fragments of memories that had tried to claw their way back. A childhood friend. A family member long gone. Their silent screams echoed through her mind, stronger than any sound she had ever heard. "Stop, please," she whimpered, but her voice was lost in the rolling sea of darkness. "Do you see?" The figure taunted, its grin widening. "These are remnants of who you were, the burdens that weigh you down. They will haunt you unless you let go." "Let go," she whispered, as if testing the phrase. Deep down, the allure was strong. To be free of grief, of anguish, of memories that dragged her under. But what freedom would come without the essence of her experiences? "I can't. Can't or won't." The figure smirked, its shadow stretching as if swallowing the very essence of her resistance. In that moment, a crystalline thought pierced through the chaos. A flicker of defiance ignited in her chest. "What if? What if I turn them against you?" The grin faltered, replaced by a flicker of concern. "You think you can command them?" But defiance became clarity. "I don't need to command them. They're mine." With a roar from deep within, she summoned the faces that had once brought her pain, the faces that now lit with a ferocity she hadn't expected. They flickered, shifting like whispers of smoke woven with memories, her fears and regrets aligning behind her, suddenly bolstered by an unexpected tide of strength. "No. You cannot fight." The figure howled, but Sarah could sense its power waning as her resolve intensified. "I can." She screamed, and with that fire sparking in her chest, she pushed back against the shadows. The dark energy shattered briefly, revealing a wavering light beneath, as if the end of her struggle was cracking the surface. Fragments of her past surged forth, enveloping her in a warm embrace. "You're not a burden. You're part of who I am." Each person she had lost enveloped her strength and conviction, pulling together to form a barrier against the creeping darkness. They pulsed in rhythm with her heartbeat, a voices chanting through the silence. "We are here." The figure blinked, its predatory mask slipping as it recoiled. "You cannot." "Yes. I can," she declared, summoning all her emotions, each vibrant, chaotic burst lifting her higher. Salvation shimmered in her vision, fleeting but achingly beautiful. Then, a screech erupted, a sound of raw, unfiltered rage and desperation. The shadows writhed violently as if the very fabric of the universe was trembling at her newfound strength. In that pivotal moment, she understood. Freedom wasn't about forgetting, it was about transforming pain into power, losses into lessons. But would that be enough? As the shadows twisted and splintered before her, she felt the momentum shifting again, the balance teetering precariously. "Now taste the irony." The figure screeched, anger morphing into something primal. "You think you can defy me? I'll make you wish you had forgotten." Sarah's heart raced, the challenge igniting every nerve. She felt the walls closing back in, but now she could face the darkness on her terms. Would she defeat the shadows, or would they seize back control in a bid to devour her anew? The ground beneath her wavered, and everything lurched. And all at once, shadows surged forward again, wrapping around her as if preparing to pull her into a chilling abyss of despair. Secure this resolve, Sarah. Her memories pronounced in choir, urging her onward. The question loomed, could she stand firm against the chaos that hungered for her soul, or would she slip back into the darkness and lose everything? As the shadows wrapped tighter around her, Sarah's breath quickened, each exhale a visible puff in the cold air of despair. The pressure was immense, pressing into her chest like a vice. But in the depths of that crushing darkness, a tiny flicker of hope ignited, and she clutched onto it as if it were a lifeline. Remember. A voice called out from within the chaotic swirl, a familiar one, textured with warmth and love. It was her mother's voice, resonating from a time long past. You are never alone in this fight. The shadows faltered, swirling hesitantly as if unsure how to respond. Sarah leaned into that memory, feeling the embrace of love surging around her. The warmth of spoken words wrapped her in a cocoon of energy. We are strong together. Alone, you are weak. The figure thundered, rage rooting itself deeper in its tone. These emotions are your chains. No. Sarah shouted, finding a confidence that rocked her body. They are my wings. With renewed vigor, she planted her feet firmly in the shifting ground, feeling the energy of her memories pulse beneath her. Each face that emerged from the shadows distilled an emotion: joy, laughter, even pain, but most importantly, fierce love. They sparked memories of smiles, holidays, and warm embraces, filling her with an unstoppable resolve. You think you can hold me? You are nothing. She declared, her voice filling the chasm of darkness, resounding like thunder. The figure shrieked in reply, a howl that vibrated through her, the sound raw and unforgiving. Foolish girl. You think love can conquer this abyss? You will drown in despair. Try me. She roared, feeling the weightlessness of her memories transforming into armor. The pull of the shadows lessened as she opened her heart wide, honoring the spirits of her past. With furious intent, she drew forth everything she had, the joy and sorrow intertwining into formidable strength. A blinding light burst forth from within her, dispersing the shadows like mist in sunlight. She felt the remnants of her past rise with her courage sewn into every memory, bolstering her spirit. The figure twisted, its shadowy form beginning to splinter under the force of her light. This cannot be. It wailed, panic breaking its mask of confidence. Yes. It can. Sarah's voice thrummed with power. She thrust her hands outward, unleashing a torrent of emotions that collided against the figure, laced with memories that refused to let her go. As the shadows shrieked and writhed in agony, Sarah pushed forward, gaining strength from each moment that had once brought her despair. Faces swirled around her, forming a radiant barrier against the encroaching darkness. I am stronger than my pain. She shouted as the darkness trembled, but just as victory seemed attainable, the figure coalesced, its eyes transforming into pits of black malice, and it lashed out one last time. You are merely a flicker in the darkness. It will consume you all. In that instant, the ground quaked beneath her feet. The very fabric of reality seemed to fracture and expand, threatening to swallow her whole. Hold tight. The united voices of her memories yelled, drawing her back from the chasm that yawned voraciously before her. For a fleeting moment, Sarah felt her heart swell with the remembrance of every laugh, every touch of comfort, and every tear shed in love. But more importantly, she felt the shadow closing in again, desperate to reclaim its hold. What would happen when the light faded? Could she keep the darkness at bay? The air crackled around her, suspense thickening the atmosphere. The weights of the past bated her breath, and the final showdown loomed closer than ever. Will Sarah manage to create a lasting sanctuary for her memories against the encroaching shadows, or will the darkness succeed in pulling her into its depths? The tremors underfoot grew more violent, as if the earth itself was screaming warnings of impending doom. Sarah's pulse raced in sync with the frantic chaos that enveloped her. The shadows surged forward, twisted forms clawing at her, eager to snatch away the light she had conjured. Panic clawed at her throat. What if this was it? What if the darkness wasn't just an enemy, but a better part of her she had yet to understand? You can't escape the truth, the figure bellowed, its voice now a cacophony of distorted echoes and haunting wails. The shadows reached, claw-like fingers coming within inches of her skin, cold and suffocating. But Sarah stood her ground, summoning the powerful memories around her every laugh, every moment of comfort and joy that had ever graced her life. They pulsed like a heartbeat, creating a shield of flickering light. "I am not defined by you," she shouted, the words bursting from her with the force of a lioness roar. As she spoke, the blinding light intensified, sweeping across the void in sizzling arcs. The shadows recoiled, their forms quaking as they battled against her brilliance, yet, the figure grew desperate, and with each passing second, Sarah could see its form shift. Less shapeless and more defined, it morphed into grotesque versions of people she once knew, friends betrayed, family lost, arguments long past. It was everything she had ever tried to forget, towering and looming, carrying the weight of her failures and regrets. "You will never be free," it hissed, and a chill shot through her. Memories tugged painfully at her heart. "Stop!" Sarah clutched her head, feeling the pressure seeping back, stretching thin the fragile barrier she had built. The battle raged, her light colliding with the encroaching darkness, a ferocious wrestling match between something she feared and something she loved, but within the storm of turmoil, a soft whisper broke through, a renewed voice rising above the clamor. "Trust in your truth." It was her mother's voice again, soothing yet strong, a beacon in her swirling chaos. Sarah closed her eyes, took a deep breath, letting the warmth suffuse her. She stepped forward, letting the memories wash over her. The darkness trembled, its form faltering at Sarah's resolute stance. "I embrace my truth. My past is my strength," she cried, and it felt like an incantation. With those words, the blinding light surged forward, rushing over the shadows like a tidal wave, pushing back against the darkness with a newfound ferocity. Each flicker of that light was laced with the vibrancy of her life, the laughter shared, the tears shed, every obstacle faced, her people standing beside her in unity. The figure writhed, shrieking in a voice that was a terrible mix of her own doubts and fears. "You will be engulfed by sorrow. You cannot escape who you are." But Sarah remained unyielding, refusing to back down. The shadows shrank back, desperate to hold on to their last tendrils of control. "This is who I am. And I am more than my pain." A final, blinding burst erupted, and the very ground beneath her feet exploded in a riot of colors, breaking the chains that had bound her. She felt the darkness crumbling, splintering, scattering into fragments of nothingness, yet, just as she thought freedom was hers, a blinding shadow formed anew in the distance, whispering dark promises that sent shivers down her spine. "Did you really think that was all? This is only the beginning." A bone-chilling laugh echoed through the ruins of shadow, drawing nearer, its presence a heavy weight in the air. What was this new threat, and how deep did the darkness truly run? Would she find the strength to withstand yet another trial? The darkness surged again, pulsing with the weight of 1,000 unspoken fears. Sarah felt like she was wrapped in iron chains, each link forged from her past, a past she thought she had conquered. That chilling laughter danced in her ears, taunting her, and sweat dripped down her back as she fought to maintain her composure. "Who are you?" she screamed into the void, desperate for a response. "Show yourself." The shadows twisted, coiling like serpents, and then the air rippled, revealing a figure cloaked in black. As it stepped forward, a hollow light radiated from an unseen source, illuminating its face. Recognition hit her like a boulder. It was a distorted version of herself, the self she had tried, and failed, to bury. The eyes were cold and penetrating, the smile wide with malice. "Did you think you'd escape me?" it hissed, voice smooth as silk yet laced with venom. "I am your darkness, your regrets, your past. You cannot destroy what you are." Sarah's heart raced, each beat a drum echoing defiance. "I'm not afraid of you." She clasped her hands together, trying to rekindle the light within her, but felt it flickering like a candle in a storm. "Oh, but you should be," the creature whispered, its breath chilling the air around her. Every moment you ignore the truth, I grow stronger. Suddenly, the ground quaked violently beneath her feet. The shadows began to swirl like a vortex around her, pulling her closer, threatening to consume her whole. Panic flared within her, a choking grip tightening around her throat. Every regret she had ever known surged back like a tidal wave. Loud arguments, friendships now faded, the heartache of betrayal. Your failure defines you. It spat, elongating its claws, reaching for her heart. You'll never escape the ugliness. Tremors shook Sarah, but within her shuddering pulse, there was also a spark of resolve. She remembered the warmth of her mother's words, the love and light that held her together in the dark. You are not the shadows. She shouted, fighting against the suffocating darkness. You are only a part of my journey. The creature sneered, the shadows coiling tighter, gnashing their teeth, but Sarah summoned every memory, every laugh, every tear she had ever shed, and in that moment, light burst forth around her. It was raw and unfiltered, blooming like a garden after a harsh winter. Look! She called defiantly, throwing her arms wide as the light radiated outward. This is my truth. I am not just my pain, I am more. The shadows convulsed and shrieked, unable to withstand the brilliance of her rebirth. Yet, even in the brilliance, there was the figure of her dark self, undeterred, lurking back in the depths, laughing, as if to say this struggle was far from over. Enjoy this moment, Sarah, it sang, an unsettling echo vibrating from the corners of her mind. For I will return, and next time, you won't be so lucky. With that, the shadows retreated, but the weight of its words clung to the air, a promise of a deeper battle yet to come. Sarah gasped, breathless, the remnants of darkness clinging to her psyche like cobwebs. What does it want? She wondered, her heart pounding in a wild rhythm. What would she have to face next? What dark memories still needed to be confronted? Just as she dared to think about the journey ahead, the ground trembled once more, and the shadows began to gather again, swirling restlessly. What will I reveal about myself? She whispered, barely catching her breath as uncertainty settled heavily on her shoulders. And then, from the darkness, a distant siren began to wail, a sound cutting through the haze of her thoughts. And with it, the chilling realization hit her. This was only the calm before the storm. Sarah felt a heaviness in her chest as she staggered back, her heart pounding with the remnants of panic and fear. The confrontation with her dark self had left her breathless. The shadows, although retreating, still loomed like a storm cloud just beyond the horizon, ready to strike at the first moment of vulnerability. She knew she couldn't let her guard down. There was no ultimate defeat here, not yet. The chilling echo of promises and threats still reverberated in the marrow of her bones. I will return, it repeated like a warning, taunting her with shadows of doubt that whispered back to her heart. With trembling hands, she pulled her phone from her pocket, seeking solace in the light it projected. Maybe this was the moment to gather her thoughts, assess the chaos, and map out her next steps. Her mind raced. She opened the very app where her journey had begun, Craigslist. As she scrolled through the ads, a thought struck her. These weren't just stories, they were reflections of the fears she carried in her own life. Each tale had a lesson, a warning, or a key. What if she could turn the tide? What if she could transform these terrifying stories into a weapon against her lingering darkness? Weight is strength, she whispered to herself, recalling the figure's words. The truth crashed down like a wave. Her pain could serve as both shield and sword. Reaching the comments section, Sarah found herself reading through responses, a vivid tapestry of experiences that mirrored her own fight against despair. A message stood out, echoing her own resolve: face your fears. Only then can you be free. Suddenly inspired, she typed out a post of her own. I'm sharing my story to confront the shadows. I know I'm not alone. I will not be defined by my regrets. I will reclaim my memories. With a heavy breath, she pressed post, sending it out into the vast digital expanse. Instantly, notifications poured in, supportive messages lit up her screen. The warmth spread through her like sunlight breaking through a fog. Each comment felt like a hand reaching out, pulling her closer to courage and connection, reaffirming that she wasn't battling the darkness alone. People shared their stories, their struggles, echoing her journey in ways she had never imagined possible. Just then, as the echoes of camaraderie filled her apartment, the shadows stirred once more, sluggish but familiar. The dark figure emerged, its features sharp and maligned. "You think those little words can save you?" It snarled, fingers curling like claws. "You are still afraid." "Yes," she whispered, but the fear ebbed away. "But I will not be governed by you." Therefore, Sarah stood tall, heart pounding with new fervor as the shadows clawed closer. The figure snarled, as if caught off guard by her defiance. "You believe you can harness others' pain against me?" It laughed, a hollow, wheezing sound that chilled her veins. But she had come too far and learned too much to back down now. "I'm learning," she shouted, feeling every ounce of shared pain wrap around her like a shield. "I'm turning my grief into strength. No matter how many times you return, I will face you again." The figure's eyes widened, rattled by the conviction in her voice. The shadows hesitated for a moment, caught off guard by her audacity. A wall of light flickered to life around her, radiant memories dancing and swirling, illuminating her once more. "Yes. Let that light burn," she roared, unleashing the tide of warmth and laughter that sought to overwhelm the darkness. Light clashed against shadow, a breathtaking battle of emotion and resilience. The figure twisted, writhing under the intensity of the radiant light she commanded. It shrieked, a primal sound ringing out through the chaos, a wild thing desperate to maintain its hold, but the memories she had reclaimed fused powerfully in her resolve. "You think these shadows define you? They are only a piece of the puzzle." As the sinister figure recoiled, she felt a surge of confidence infuse her very being. She gathered energy from every shared memory, every ounce of support from her community, binding them into an unbreakable force. "You win. I want to let you take what is mine," she shouted, the power of her unity confronting the figure head-on. The dark entity shrieked in anguish, the walls of her apartment shaking under the force of her resolve. With one final push, she expelled an arresting light that shattered the last of the shadows, scattering them like paper in the wind. Victory coursed through her veins, a heady mix of triumph and release as the final remnants of darkness dissolved before her eyes. Yet, deep within, Sarah could feel the ever-present shadow lingering on the fringe, a reminder of battles fought and those yet to come. But today, she had found her strength and reclaimed her power. She held the light not just for herself but for all those who had ever struggled. A promise echoed through her soul: any fight with the dark was a step toward the light, and she would carry this truth forward, knowing that every shadow faced was one more tethered connection to the heart of life itself. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling lighter than she had in years. She had faced her darkness. She would likely encounter it again, but now she knew she had allies, light and strength surrounded her, and as she closed her laptop, she whispered to the night, "You will come back, shadows. But I'll be ready." With her heart steady and the light of 1,000 memories guiding her, she stepped towards the door, a survivor in a world of hustle and heartache, free to start anew. Now isn't the time to turn away. You need to subscribe right now so you don't miss the next exclusive stories coming your way. Smash that like button now to help the algorithm reach even more people. Don't hold back, flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this mind-blowing ending. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely must see this conclusion. Your support means everything to this channel.